if you hold on to unleashing the Knight of Swords for too long, then you're going to be treated as a doormat. If you would like to participate in the next draw for a reading, you can do so on Patreon, and you can also do it over my website. So check out my website for the details. Next month's lottery is going to be for a New Year's reading, so that's particularly exciting, I think. Now this month, we're going to find out who the recipient of the reading is in about a minute. In the meantime, let me just say I'm very grateful for all of you for being here, for supporting my channel, my endeavor to speak about matters of the spirit and to use the tarot to explore the mysteries of life. I'm so happy that so many people are interested in that. And the recipient of the lottery reading is Simon. Congratulations. Let's jump into Simon's reading. Simon has been a long-time supporter of mine. He is subscribed for monthly readings as well. And he's also in the lottery pool. So he's receiving 2 readings this month. Thanks to that. So let's see, first and foremost, what the cards would like to ask you. So this is going to be a little bit of an unconventional reading, although I have done a reading like this before on my channel. But, normally the way things are is that you ask questions to the tarot, expecting those questions to be answered. But in this scenario, I would like the cards to ask you a question, Simon. So I hope you're ready for that. And I'm actually going to draw 2 cards for that purpose. And everybody else who is still watching, feel free to think about the question that is posed here as well, and try to come up with your own answers. So 1 and 2. All right. The Queen of Wands and the Knight of Swords. Okay. So this is the Osho Zen Tarot, a really lovely deck. And one of the characteristics of this deck is that instead of the court card names or the names of even the minor arcana cards, we have these words associated with the card and its energy, for better or for worse. Sometimes these are really fitting, and sometimes they seem to be a little bit, at least for my taste, a little too presumptuous. But I think in the case of these 2, they are pretty fitting. So the Queen of Wands is sharing, And the Knight of Swords is fighting. And I can definitely see how these names or these titles are connected with the meanings of the cards. So here's the question. Where is the healthy boundary between giving of yourself and cooperating and resisting external influences and rejecting whatever is being proposed to you? So where is the healthy boundary? How do you find the correct answer, the correct behavior in a given situation? The Queen of Wands is driven by a desire to see life as charming and spectacular. And she also wants to be in the limelight, so there's a little bit of a performative edge to this card, which is worth mentioning. So she's a little bit of an actress, but in her worldview, what really matters is that we are having a good time. She's also the hostess archetype. So she's most importantly concerned with, how is everyone doing? What are the vibes here? Are we all vibing together, you know? And in contrast, the Knight of Swords is driven by his idiosyncrasies and his somewhat inflexible, somewhat outlandish ideas, oftentimes. And he's also inspired by the element of air, as opposed to the fire-based Queen of Wands. So there's a more of a theoretical or abstract background to the behaviors of the Knight of Swords, while with the Queen of Wands there's more spontaneity and more of an explorative spirit. But the question is, how much is too much? When do you decide to turn off the kindness and the assumption that the people who are surrounding you, they are this gentle audience, or these guests in your home, in your world, in your reality, and therefore you're responsible for entertaining them and making them feel good? And where is that line where you say, okay, this is no longer funny, you guys are being rude, or you're becoming an irritating factor, even though, and this is what the Queen of Wands is really good at, even though I've tried my best to bring light and warmth to the situation, there's still some kind of a coldness or detachment which aggravates me. So one thing that connects these two is that they're both very eccentric and self-focused or self-driven. Both the Queen of Wands and the Knight of Swords have their primary focus on them, the individual experiencing the story. The Queen of Wands' main paradigm is, I'm the sparkling spectacle that everyone is charmed by. I am the organizing force who's raising everyone's vibrations in this social gathering, let's say. And the Knight of Swords is paradigm is I've been wronged. Something's not adding up, and my ideals or my rules or my policies, my personal policies have been infringed upon, and therefore I should swing into action and show the intruders what's what. So this is the difference between hospitability and hostility, I guess. Where is that line? When do you recognize that a situation warrants a different kind of attitude? Where do you notice that the jovial and good-natured perspective of the Queen of Wands needs to be abandoned because it would lead to exploitation? So let's find out. How do you know? And now the question that the cards are asking you at this point is, when was the last time that you've been in such a situation where you've welcomed someone with, or some people with open arms, where you've made sure that everyone was feeling comfortable and that they were taken care of, and that you've made attempts to show everybody a good time, and then there was a point where you had to recognize and realize that this is actually a situation with considerable amounts of animosity built up, and you have to react. So think about that, and think about the decisive moment when you recognize that this was happening. And I think the cards are asking you this question because the relevance of this question is going to come up, or it's already surfacing in your life, and you should be prepared to be able to respond. So how do you know? Because if you unleash the Knight of Swords prematurely when that's not warranted, you might come across as aggressive, needlessly aggressive, or erratic in your behavior, and you don't need that. If you hold on to unleashing the Knight of Swords for too long, then you're going to be treated as a doormat, which is also no good. So we need to try and strike a balance here, right? Okay, so what is the clue? Okay. This is an interesting one, the burden. So the Six of Swords, the burden. When we carry a load of shoulds and shouldn'ts imposed on us by others, we become like this ragged, struggling figure trying to make his way uphill. Go faster, try harder, reach the top, shouts the foolish tyrant he carries on his shoulder, while the tyrant himself is crowned with an imperious rooster. If life these days feels like just a struggle from the cradle to the grave, it could be time to shrug your shoulders and see what it feels like to walk without these characters on your back. You have your own mountains to conquer, your own dreams to fulfill. but you will never have the energy to pursue them until you release yourself from all the expectations you've gathered from others, but now think are your own. Chances are they exist only in your own mind, but that doesn't mean they can't weigh you down. It's time to lighten up and send them on their way. So what comes to my mind is that I'm reading this book, Neurosis and Growth by Karen Horney, a psychoanalyst who wrote this book in, I think, 1950s or 60s. And there's a chapter in that book called The Tyranny of the Should. And she uses this term, the should, as sort of these neurotic expectations that we have for ourselves, these expectations, these burdens that we place on ourselves to be a certain way that is not genuine, authentic, natural, and it's ultimately not real. So this card is suggesting to me that as soon as you start justifying to yourself why you're putting up with the nonsense of people who are taking advantage of your kindness, when you start coming up with sentences such as, well, I should be more tolerant, or I should be more accepting of these behaviors because XYZ. And these shoulds, they come from a place of perfectionism, perhaps, or a fear of not being able to please people. So there's also a people pleasing strategy here. So this is where you can start to be suspicious that the Queen of Wands era should end, and that your anger and your disapproval of the situation is justified. So I hope that you enjoy this reading, and thank you and everybody else for participating, for watching this video. Leave a comment if you'd like. I always like to read your ideas. And see you next time.